Hello and welcome to this week's Out of Cast, your program completely in English.
As it's to
improve your knowledge about cinema. This is your host Helia the Bluehead.
and Twinkle Nora.
And today we are here to talk about, I think the surprise has been all spoiled already. Maybe you have seen our posts on social media, which are...
So you can follow us on our Facebook page on Roma Tre Radio, on Twitter as Roma Tre Radio, and of course on Instagram too as Roma Tre Radio, but 3 is a number. And well, you can listen to us on our streaming website on radio.uniroma3.it and on our... And I wish it were our app, but it's just the TuneIn app, and we're here there as Roma Tre Radio.
So yeah, we have posted some posts
Posted
posted some posts in our social media, on Facebook and our and also Instagram, that today we're gonna talk about a very magical studio. No, forget about Disney. We are here today to talk about Ghibli magic. So yeah, Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli. I mean, people call it whether either way they like.
Let's call it Ghibli.
Ghibli. So yeah, I've heard both Ghibli and Ghibli. So I think we better stick to Ghibli because I've heard
it's more the Japanese like. Ghibli.
I don't know. We'll stick to Ghibli, I think. Yeah. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Now, thanks to Lore for the clip we just played for you to have a very brief idea about what we're going to talk about, which is the history and foundation of the studio. So everybody in their lifetime at least once have seen or heard about Studio Ghibli's movies. Theirs are some of the most seen movies in Japan and critically acclaimed all around the world. Some of them have even sculpted in the pop culture figures and icons like Totoro, which we know eventually becomes the Studio Ghibli's logo as well. Now, the men who created this wonderland of dreams are Hayao Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, Toshio Suzuki, and Yasuyoshi Tokuma. The discreet success of Miyazaki's first 2 solo films, Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro in 1979, and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind for the Tokyo movie Shinsha in 1984, was enough to push him and his colleagues to create the Studio Ghibli in June 15th, 1985.
And well, the names comes from the wind Sirocco, which is translated Ghibli to Ghibli in Libya. It was picked by Miyazaki himself, since he is a great aviation fan, as many people have pointed out in his movies. Being short-handed in animators and working inside a small office, they had to keep the flop risk at minimum. In the end, the effort did worth it. The first 3 movies signed Studio Ghibli were Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, and Grave of the Fireflies,
which we talked about in our previous shows on movies about World War II.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
They were well received by the critics despite their production difficulties, but although the low budget and being the first movies of a new company, in time they become some of the most popular among the horror films.
Now, the first huge success was Kikis delivery service, coming out in 1989, which came after an increase of employees and reconstruction of new head office to work in. Things were getting serious. It was getting serious actually, as more success came by Porco Rosso and with Whisper of the Heart. The roles inside the studio changed, with Miyazaki becoming also the producer and screenwriter of all the stuff.
And although the films are still nowadays distributed in cinemas by Toho Animation Company, the Walt Disney Home Entertainment Japan takes care of the home video distribution for worldwide countries.
So yeah, Disney is actually...
Disney is everywhere.
Oh my god!
Do you do anything? I shall have your company.
So
The fame of Studio Ghibli reached the Western civilization thanks to 3 other movies directed by Miyazaki: Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle between 1990, right? And early 2000s.
Since then, generations of young viewers fell in love with the dreamlike and strange worlds depicted in Studio Ghibli's movies. Now, still today, they are regarded as masterpieces of animation, and new directors have provided us with movies like From Up on Poppy Hill, directed by Goro Miyazaki. He is actually Hayao Miyazaki's son. Or When Marnie Was There, which came in 2014, I guess, in search of successors of Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata. Now, even if their work aren't really regarded as stunning as Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli is anyway synonym of quality, and it keeps us fascinated and dreaming still today. This was the fastest speed I could talk.
It's a little bit hard. Fucking numbers.
Because there are many stuff to talk about and our articles are too long, but we have to keep on going and keep it fast.
And we have to remember that the pages are
Yeah.
So what's the fucking page?
Yes. Okay. Are we still going?
Because like it happened to her before, like 2 minutes ago. Where's the 5th page? She went like over and then where the fucking is the 5th page? Oh, it's here. Oh.
Okay. Normally when we say princess, what will come to your mind? I mean, it's maybe Cinderella, Snow White, like that. But no, not about this one. This is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, coming out in 1984. Now, this film is a bit of a cheating since it comes before the foundation of Studio Ghibli, but it has all the material and also Hayao Miyazaki, the mastermind behind it. So yeah. Now, also the Japanese name is Kaze no Tani no Nausicaa. Tells the story of a warrior and pacifist princess Nausicaa, who desperately struggles to prevent 2 warring nations from destroying themselves and the entire planet. Starring Sumi Shimamoto as Nausicaa, Mahito Tsujimura as Jill or Muso, Hisoko Kiyoda as Obaba, Goro Naya as Yupa or Lord Yupa, and Ikiro Nagi as Mito. Also, it's worth noting that the English voice cast is awesome. Now, it's Alison Lohman as Nausicaa, Patrick Stewart as Lord Yupa, Shia LaBeouf as Aspel, Uma Thurman as Kushana, and Mark Hamill as the mayor of Pagete. The movie differs a lot from other later Miyazaki's works since most of them are based on someone else's property, but not this time. Kaze no Tani no Nausicaa is 100% original and not even in a conventional mean. Now, explain.
Thank you, I'll explain. So, young Miyazaki always wanted to make an original project, but all his ideas were rejected for a reason or another. So, he decided to write a manga on his own, which is, you guessed it, Kaze no Tani no Nausicaa, and become such a huge success in a short amount of time that he got a deal by Toei Animation to adapt his comic series to an animated movie, which Miyazaki agreed, but on 2 conditions: that the original manga should be put on hiatus, and he himself had to direct the entire project. A project where that stars of fellow animator will become a big deal later on, and I'm talking about Hideaki Anno, better known as wait for it. The depressive guy who made Evangelions.
Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind won some notable prizes. Best short film, I don't know why it's called short film, well, it's nearly 2 hours, but anyways, best short film.
Maybe it's a short film compared to Russian films.
I don't know, but at the Fanta Festival in 1985, Reader's Choice Award for Best Film, an Oficio Noboru Award, and a special nominee for a Georges Award for Best Animated Movie at Russian National Movie Awards in 2008. From an estimated budget of $1 million American dollars. It's a little bit complicated to report any box office value for any early Miyazaki's work, since it was in the 80s and many didn't know Miyazaki back then because they came to know him in the early 2000s, and yeah, that's all. So overall, it has got by 2006 it earned about 1.72 million, and on Rotten Tomatoes it has 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. And audience score is 91%, so the audience find it very much better. So this is a piece of art. Don't forget to watch it. We highly recommend it to you.
Alright guys, so I let you listen to a lovely meme soundtrack that Helia didn't hear before, and I don't know how. It's a classic.
Oh no, sorry, damn it.
My God, I pray. I say, yeah. I say, what's going on? Here.
No, it's gonna stick to my head.
Exactly.
Stick in my head. Earworm. Oh my God.
Yeah, cute.
The next one you gotta start, okay?
Alright.
So look at Oriela when she gives a sign.
Uh-huh. Nah, chill. Hello, welcome back to Out of Cast. This is Twinkle Nora.
And this is Helia the Bluehead.
And now we're going to talk about Castle in the Sky from 1987. Six.
Six.
Oh, God damn it! I do have some kind of problem. So it is, of course, directed by Hayao Miyazaki and produced by Sako Takahata. In this movie, we are experiencing a strange adventure with the characters as mysterious and a hidden world. The process of going forward by the story is done very professionally, and there's no doubt about it. Something that will make this film so special is the fact and the way that everything goes to its place, and it's expected that it's not boring. It's good. It is made absolutely perfect. So it's generally the hunt heroes are created perfectly believable. Also, the secret mechanism of this mysterious world is definitely awesome. A very interesting matter about the world inside this movie is that it is actually inspired by a little city in Italy by the name of Reggio in Orvieto.
So this film is set in a Victoria era type of time period, yet it also feels a bit steampunk-ish. That might have been influenced by the visions of writers such as Jules Verne. As Patsu, the apprentice of the engineer who maintains a mine's elevator machinery, carries his boss's dinner back to the mine, an unconscious pigtailed girl floats down from the sky into his arms. This girl, Sheeta, and her magical levitation stone pendant hold the key to a mysterious mythical sky castle known as Laputa. Sheeta and Patsu must flee from both air pirates who seek the Sky Kingdom for its legendary treasure and Sheeta's pendant, and the army led by government agent with his own mysterious agenda for Laputa.
And if you haven't seen this movie yet, go ahead and watch it.
Go ahead, right now.
Regret it. I regret what I just did.
Since the movie, it was actually the first movie by the Studio Ghibli under the name of Studio Ghibli.
You're right.
Yeah.
And they made plenty of good ones. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
It's also a great movie to show newcomers who have never saw any anime movie before.
Yeah, exactly. So it has got $15.5 million at the worldwide box office. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has got 96%, which is awesome. So it's safe to say it has been a huge success both at the box office and also on the critic sides as well. And also better knowing that it has won Animage or Animage Anime Grand Prix in 1986 and was voted the second best animated film at the 2006 Japan Media Arts Festival and was voted first place in a 2008 Oricon audience poll. Considered a milestone in the steampunk genre, Castle in the Sky has had a strong influence on Japanese popular culture and has inspired numerous films, media, games in Japan and internationally.
Say, what's going on?
Oh.
Hello. This is Twinkle Nora.
This is Helio the Bluehead.
And now we're going to talk about My Neighbor Totoro. It's a fantasy and of course it was made in 1988.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy and hilarious animation movie, of course, which became the most popular project of Ghibli Studios, as they chose the main character for their initiation logo for the studio itself, and the design of the scenes and the character in this movie have some like you will starve when someone is preparing a delicious meal inside the movie, and the comedy inside the main story is very delicate, and the balance between the different roles of the character is also well done, and the little sister character does a spectacular and natural cute play and supports the lovely big sister in a perfect way. But now let me talk about a little much more about the pitch. There are two young girls, a 10-year-old Satsuki and her 4-year-old sister Mei, who move into a new house in the countryside with their father to be closer with their hospitalized mother. Satsuki and Mei discover that the nearby forest is inhabited by magical creatures called Totoros, and they soon befriend them and have several magical adventures with them.
Now, this type of cinema is a bit hard to get into. And what I mean by that...
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that it's not easy to get used to such kind of genre, which is traditional anime, but once you're into, well, welcome to heaven, because it's an unconventional, cute, evergreen, and hand-drawn masterpiece. My Neighbor Totoro sets off a child fantasy into an ageless work of fiction, even with no action sequences or modern 3D animation technology. This film has a way of touching your tender soul. It makes complete sense why this film has acquired a cult globally and why Totoro is considered a cultural icon in Japan, as it tickles the childhood memories in all of us. It's a goddamn masterpiece. And it's enough to hear the Totoro theme just for once, and it will stick to forever. No, Totoro. Okay, go on.
So, My Neighbor Totoro is both a visually and cinematic masterpiece. Oh well, Hayao Miyazaki knows how to perfectly blend comedy, fantasy, and sadness into a perfect project. He knows how to tell an interesting and wholesome story, and even if you don't watch that much of anime, I highly recommend watching this or any other of his movies. Of course, fun. And well, if you want a little fun fact, little fun fact of the day is that the English dubbed version cast for the sisters are provided by one of the most talented sisters in Hollywood, Dakota and Elle Fanning.
Now, My Neighbor Totoro was voted the highest ranking animated film on the 2012 Science Sound Critics poll of all-time greatest films. Film critic Roger Ebert of Chicago Sun-Times identified My Neighbor Totoro as one of the great movies, calling it one of the lovingly handcrafted works of Hayao Miyazaki. In his review, Ebert called My Neighbor Totoro is based on experience, situation, and explanation, not on conflict and threat. Rotten Tomatoes website has rated it 94%, and on box office it has got more than 42 million. So
now let's get to Kikis Delivery Service from 1989. It's based on an Eiko Kadon novel by the same title, which is in Japanese. Mahou no Takubin tells the story of a 13-year-old witch on a mandatory young independent life in a big city, and even if she finds fitting into a new community difficult, thanks to a series of lovely serendipity scenarios, she starts to support herself by running a medical air courier service, starring Minami Takayama as Kiki and Ursula, Rei Sekuma as Gigi, Kiki's black talking cat, Kappei Yamaguchi as Tombo, and Keiko Toda as Osono. The movie surely is an heartwarming, creating-winning tale of a young girl discovering her place in the world while discovering herself at the same time, exploring coming-of-age issues such as independence, insecurity, aspiration, and even sexuality.
Now, the whole movie doesn't have a linear growing plot, bit by bit, but a much more slice of life flowing style until the very end, which it's not a spoiler, don't worry about spoilers, with a catastrophe reunites all the plot elements that was shown earlier in the story. Now, Mahou no Takuyubin won a little bunch of prizes too, from a popularity award for most popular film at the Japanese Academy in 1990 to a Reader's Choice Award for Best Japanese Film Director to Hayao Miyazaki, and a Menchi Film Concours for Best Animated Film. The project started with 800 million yen, which is equal to $6.9 million, and on Japan gained back 4.3 billion yen. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has got an extremely high but well-deserved 97% on Tomato Meter, and a bit lower 88% on the audience score. Now, one last thing, if you guys want to search some clips or more information on that on the internet, I suggest you choose wisely, since what you're going for, since there seems to be another Kikis Delivery Service movie, but it's live action and directed by Takashi Shimizu, or the crazy man behind the Grudge series. Maybe it's good, but who are we to judge?
Questa l'ho fatta un po' corta, l'ho scritta un po' corta, scusate.
No. 5-6, ok, 5-6.
Sono sinceramente curiosa di questa versione di Takashi Shimizu.
Where is page 5?
It's here. Where is page 5?
Helia, where is it? Helia, where is it? Where the fuck is it? Hey!
Che punto siete?
7 su 9.
7, only yesterday.
Dove è il prossimo clip?
Prima di Porco Rosso.
Hello. So now we're going to talk about Only Yesterday from 1991. Only Yesterday, or like it is called in Japanese, Omoide Poro Poro, which is translated as Memories Come Trembling Down, is directed by Isako Takahata, based on the 1982 manga by the same title by Hotaro Okamoto and Yukotone. And I declare myself as a weeboo. So this one is
180.
I give up on numbers today.
No, come on, 180
degrees different from other Ghibli animations. And why it's bad, you may ask? Well, it's because it tells a realistic drama for adults and especially for women. The story starts off in 1982 from the point of view of our protagonist, Taeko Kajima, trying to take a break from the city life since she lives in Tokyo, and everyone knows how Tokyo is chaotic. And going to to a countryside to a family for a vacation in order to find something with herself, like some sort of revelation, and doing that with working on a field with her relatives harvesting sunflowers. And during all of this, we see multiple flashbacks to a childhood back when she was at 5th grade.
Now, there's something really interesting on the technical standpoint here. Whenever the time period of the story is right now, at the current moment, the shapes in the picture and the frame, all the stuff seems pretty rigid and well structured, while the shots from her memories and the pictures are all designed. The picture overall seems a bit blurry and hazy, exactly just like when we think about our old memories. As we mentioned before, this animation is very much different from other Ghibli works. It shows us the highs and lows of growing up as a girl. Who was your first crush and how did you feel about it? How your first puberty experience felt like? And of course, all the school and studying problems and etc. Now, there's a special warmth to this movie that it's kind of hard to discuss about it, since Studio Ghibli with this movie reaches to the deepest emotional part of ours that we simply couldn't talk about it or explain it to anyone, but freaking Studio Ghibli did it. There are sceneries in the movie that are just so breathtaking to watch, so don't even hesitate for a moment on watching this magnificent work of art.
And also some facts for reality. Today I'm the fact bad guy. So the ending theme song, Ai wa hana, kimo wo sotane, love is a flower, you are the seed. It's not very poetic. It's a Japanese translation of Amanda Maxbrun composition The Rose, and second one, to celebrate its 20th anniversary, JK is released to a film for the first time in an English language format on 26 February 2016, featuring voices of Daisy Ridley and Fatal.
Now, the film was a surprise hit at the box office, earning 3.8 billion in Japan and more than 500,000 overseas, attracting a large adult audience of all genders and becoming the highest grossing Japanese film of the year in the country. It was also well received by critics with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Also based on 53 reviews, so it's freaking 100%. The critical consensus states only yesterday's long delayed US debut fills a frustrating gap for American Ghibli fans, while offering further proof of the studio's incredibly consistent community to quality. And it has scored 90 out of 100 on Metacritic based on 19 reviews, indicating universal acclaim.
So what you just heard was the Porco Rosso's trailer, of course.
Yeah.
So I think you guessed what we're going to talk about right now.
Pretty much.
Disney. So, Porco Rosso from 1992, written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Porco Rosso depicts an Italian veteran of World War I fighter ace Marco Pagott in his life as a bounty hunter, chasing airborne pirates across the Adriatic Sea. Due to a mysterious curse, he is transformed into anthropomorphic pig, and now to the world he is known as Porco Rosso, which in Italian it means a red pig. And during the movie, he discovers the new fascist government has started to hire seaplanes pirates for their own use, thus putting Marco out of business.
Now, at first, Porco Rosso wasn't meant to be a full-length film, but a short in-flight film for Japan Airline based on The Age of the Flying Boat, a 3-volume manga made by Miyazaki himself. But the outbreak of the war in Yugoslavia demanded a change of plans and a more serious tone for the movie, about the famous sentence, I'd much rather be a pig than a fascist. Ooh. Yeah, Hayao Miyazaki stated in an interview with Empire magazine that because of the political context, the movie was very difficult to make. Also, considering the many conflicts that broke in the war during production, the post-World War I Italy setting is made so clear by Miyazaki that you could almost think that the events in this movie have really happened. The accuracy in depicting a real-world threat inside a fantasy work is majestic. This, of course, doesn't leave out the beautiful landscape and town design, almost in an oasis kind of world. It's like if we saw them with the eyes of a tourist.
And for Carosa, what was the number one film on the Japanese market in 1992, grossing more than 5 billion yen. And in 1993, the movie was selected at the prix it's French, right?
Yeah.
Le prix du long métrage for the Annecy International Animated Film Festival in France, and made it inside times out the top 50
best.
50 best
Discover.
It's
top
the wrong page.
animated
Movies list. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a rating 94% based on 60 reviews. Wilson
McLaren
on the Latfield Cinema considered it as the most underrated film for the Studio Ghibli catalog.
And we're back. So
We're back.
yeah, we are done talking about Studio Ghibli for today, just today, because for the next 2 weeks we'll be again with you talking still about Studio Ghibli. We want to discuss about every single movie they've made, and the ones that at least had theatrical release. So yeah, and this is Ghibli magic that we're witnessing at the moment, and we are all loving it, and I'm speechless whenever I want to talk about this studio. I love it so much. It brings us magic and beauty, and overall there are many messages within their movies, and the most important ones, I think, at least this is my personal opinion, that the most important ones are being our relation with nature and how we should respect it and protect it, of course, and of course the the deepest, darkest, I wouldn't say secret, but the deepest, darkest thoughts of a human nature.
I just want to point out that all she said wasn't in the script, so I'm really speechless. She's talking with her heart right now.
Yeah, it's all my heart.
That's
because
really big save, like the same internet. Big save.
So thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, we are all over in social media.
We are on Facebook as Roma Tre Radio, on Twitter as well as Roma Tre Radio, on Instagram as Roma Tre Radio. But remember, Tre is a number, you will find anything. So, and you can listen to us on our streaming website as radio.uniroma3.net, and finally on the TuneIn app as Roma Tre Radio.
So thank you again all for tuning in. This has been your host Helia the Bluehead.
And Twinkle Nora.
Thank you again and goodbye.